Hello, guys. In this assignment, what you're going to do is you're going to be given a verbal situation. You will be creating your equation, table, and graph from that situation. So, the first slide I gave you is an example. If we read this example, it says in 12 hours, Anne picked 108 buckets of strawberries. What is the constant of proportionality based on this situation? So, one of the first things that you're going to need to do is figure out what is your x value and what is your y value. And that's what you're going to write over here in the equation area. I always know if if it is a unit of time, such as hours, minutes, seconds, those are going to be your x or your independent variable. Time is always independent, meaning it goes on no matter what. It doesn't depend on anyone to go on. So time is always your independent variable. The number of buckets of strawberries depends on how many hours she was there. So your buckets of strawberries is your dependent variable, which is y, because it depends on the amount of time. Once you have that figured out, you can take your y value and divide by your x value, just like we did yesterday. So 108 divided by 12 equals 9. And that's where they got this equation, y equals 9x. In your table, you can choose any values for x or y as long as your constant of proportionality is there. So, right here, if we did y divided by x, 27 divided by 3, I would get 9. I could do 36 divided by 4, I would get 9. 63 divided by 7, divided by 7 equals 9. And 81 divided by 9 also equals 9. So they didn't necessarily go in order here. They kind of picked random numbers, 3, 4, 7, 9. On the STAR test, you'll also get tables and graphs with numbers that might not be exactly represented in the problem. Notice 12 and 108 are not on our table. They could be if you wanted to include them, but they don't have to be. Because these values also represent when Anne was picking strawberries for 3 hours, 4 hours, 7 hours, and 9 hours, these values would still be true. So same thing on the graph. If you look at the graph, for my x value, I didn't even get up to 12 hours. I represented 1 through 10 hours, and for each of those hours, notice that I chose my scale on my y-axis to match with my number of hours. So in 1 hour, Anne picked 9 strawberries. In 2 hours, Anne picked 18. 3 hours, Anne picked 27, and so on. If I took each of these data points and wrote out the point, let me pick this one right here. So for example, 327. If I looked at that data point and did my y value divided by my x value, 27 divided by 3, I would get 9. And that's what these data points show. Data points are not just numbers, they actually relate back to the situation. So, one of the things that I should do whenever I create a graph is I should put down here that this is my hours. The x-axis represents my hours, and the y-axis represents my buckets of strawberries. These aren't just numbers, they actually mean something. And I could show that in my point too. 3 hours equals 27 buckets of strawberries. That one little dot on this graph tells you all of that information. So if I go back to all of my representations, They all match each other. What you will do in the following slides is read the verbal situation, pick out your XY, create that equation, and then from there, create a table and graph to represent your situation. If you have any questions, join the Zoom or message me through Canvas. Thank you so much. Bye bye.